Now, you mentioned earlier some of the tensions within the conservative movement. I received an invitation today. I saw that you're going to be debating Michael Anton, who is at the State Department, the head of the policy planning staff. You'll be debating him at a dinner. What do you expect to disagree with him about?
I don't know, perhaps as a colloquy/debate, but I imagine, having known Michael for a number of years, that I will take a slightly more restrained line than him, which is perhaps no surprise. He speaks for the administration. I most certainly do not. Over the years, I think that Michael has had a view, to the extent that I understand it, on Iran that is more hawkish than mine. And I think, Iran is a country that the U.S. can normalize with relatively easily. And the major explainer of why we don't is the lobby of a foreign country.
Now, from the outside, it looks like there are a lot of concentric circles in the Trump administration. Our friend Nina Burleigh is working on a piece on Laura Loomer. And then there is Steve Bannon, and there are various other characters, Charlie Kirk. All these various disparate voices within the MAGA fold, but trying to influence Trump, including the American conservative. How much influence do you think Bannon and others actually exert on President Trump?
I think Bannon's immense, and I don't think Donald Trump takes lunches with people randomly. So the War Room program provides hours of programming a day that is well watched. I mean, the Fox News audience is well known and it is big, but it is a more passive audience. People have Fox News on. You do these 4-minute hits. I'm not saying that's not substantive, but it's much more wham bam, sort of slapdash kind of programming. Only Tucker Carlson's and maybe Laura Ingram's programming, historically in prime time, were major counteracting of that.
Was it a mistake for Fox to fire Carlson?
Well, obviously. But I think that Rupert Murdoch is a serious media player, and this is the kind of programming he wants. It's not entirely clear that Murdoch is. I think the huge mistake for a lot of these, frankly, oligarchic types is that they are just driven by money. If Murdoch just cared about money, I don't think he would have fired Tucker Carlson. I don't think he would have fired Glenn Beck, the sort of spiritual predecessor to Carlson. He fired him at the height of the Tea Party fever. Murdoch is an ideologue. Murdoch is a sort of British neoconservative type, and he's very content to have a certain type of audience with a certain type of ideology. Additionally, he's in his 90s. There's no clear succession plan, as has been written about ad nauseum and had a TV show about it. And he's very much trying to drive his company for his lifespan, which of course is probably not forever, although you can never rule it out with these guys.
Who do you see as the heir to the throne? Do you think it's Tucker Carlson, J.D. Vance? Do you think Tucker is going to run for president?
It can't be ruled out. I think Vice President Vance is far and away the most likely heir apparent. And especially because it's such a fast runway. Most vice presidents, they get in and it's an 8-year thing, if not longer, right? And so, it was a 12-year thing for Biden before getting the vice presidential nominee and becoming president. And so I think Vance is the favorite, but it all depends on the environment and the popularity of the administration and how significant the cleavages are on the right. And what exactly are the fault grounds of the discussion. I think we've seen, 2 major events, foreign policy in June, but also the tariff discussion in April. Different wings of the party sort of gearing themselves up to it, because so many within the conservative media ecosphere, within what I think is fairly called conservative Inc., kind of secretly think that it will all snap back to Bush republicanism once the cult figure of Donald Trump. They agree with the liberal critique, actually, a lot of these conning types. They agree with the liberal critique that all of this ideology is hooey. And as soon as Trump goes away, they can go back to Mitt Romneyism. Never mind that I never won an election in my adult lifetime. But I disagree, and I think the major ringers are on the populist side, and you've already named them: Vance, Bannon, Carlson, etc.
When you look at the administration right now, there's a long piece by Jason Zengerle in the New York Times Magazine on Stephen Miller.
Okay.
Miller appears to be, at least from my reckoning, the most powerful person in the administration, even more powerful than J.D. Vance, or is that a misperception?
I don't think he's more powerful than Vance. I think the model for Vance is effectively, and I don't mean this as because his name is currently Mudd, but the model for Vance's vice presidency is probably Biden's, which is to say a very powerful vice president, somebody with clear portfolios, somebody who was picked for a reason as an envoy to different parts of the party and different parts of the electorate, but not someone who overshadows the president, like perhaps Dick Cheney, or not somebody who's so unbelievably underwhelmed that it's a liability, a la Dan Quayle or Kamala Harris, and not somebody who is almost interchangeable or anonymous like Al Gore. I think that Vance's model is like a Biden. He's very different than his principal, and he very well could become the president. And I think you can write about Miller on immigration. Is Miller more important than Vance? Perhaps, but that's because Miller's portfolio is more focused. I think Vance is significant and it should not be discounted.